Good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, November 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern, and there is a lot of red out there. So lots to talk about regarding the charts, regarding the fundamentals as to what's going on. But first things first, I know a lot of you have a lot of uncertainty around your finances, money tied up on FTX, unable to access it, and I know that is a sickening feeling. And just a reminder that number one, we have to wait and see how it plays out before we get any actual information. And in the meantime, it's going to be a whole lot of feeling sick to your stomach while we wait for that information. I suggest the best thing that we can do is interact with family and friends and loved ones, go out into nature and zoom out of the money game and the flashing numbers in cyberspace. And that can help detach and help us think about the bigger picture things and what matters most in our lives. Also, for me, whenever I take a hit, I use it as motivation to establish a game plan of, all right, I'm going to do this now, or this and this, and I'm going to shift this around. And even if that means I'm going to drive Uber Eats for a while, whatever it is, there is a way to pivot and potentially use this as motivation as well. And we get to determine that. We get to determine if experiences that we go through, whether we wallow in self-pity or whether we use it as a motivator to turn around and seek the things that we want in our lives. So I know that's very easy for someone who is unaffected to say, with me being on my Coinbase exchange, which I really have disliked for a long time. But there's bigger things and there's more important things. So we'll get information hopefully soon, and hopefully we can see some remedy where people can get their funds off these exchanges or off of this exchange, FTX. So I'm not going to go through the fundamental recap of what's going on right now. There's people that do fundamental crypto stuff that are much better at it than I am. I'm good at the technicals. They're good at the fundamentals. So we know that we have, number one, FTX potentially insolvent. We're waiting to see the result of whether or not people are able to get their funds. We are seeing every now and again, I'm seeing people that are able to withdraw some Bitcoin and it goes through after a very long time. So it's not completely dead at the moment, but we're seeing Sol negatively impacted as well. Sol has a lot of coins that are going to come free trading tomorrow. I'm watching for that to potentially mark a climax bottom. But in this market environment, I love playing bounces. I love playing bounces. I have no interest going long in this market environment. If I were looking to be extremely aggressive, like I was back in 2018 bear market environment, I'd be looking to play some bounces here, utilizing stop losses, of course, but scaling into extreme weakness and looking to play these bounces. With where I am in my career right now as a trader, I have no interest here. The risk is not worth the reward for me, and I would rather miss a monster bounce and then look to play a higher low off of that as opposed to catching a falling knife. So we're at fresh fear lows. We got CPI tomorrow morning pre-market. The broader stock market is going to react to that. Crypto is going to react to it as well. So that's a fundamental event to be keeping an eye on as well. But the bears are extremely confident. And there is one thing that we can be watching for, put CZ of Binance's tweets on alert, because if we do get information into any kind of remedy of the FTX situation, then Sol is going to see a mini short squeeze. And it would be the kind of move where if I'm at the computer and see the information as it hits within the first few minutes, I market buy there, and then I sell half of that into strength, and then look to wait for the dust to settle after that little short squeeze. But I certainly have no interest trying to catch the falling knives right now. And that's just capital preservation. All I'm looking to do in the crypto space this year, considering I'm not playing short with Coinbase not allowing me to. I don't know how I pulled out a green year in 2018 playing bullish. I think the bounces were bigger and had more follow through, but I'm racking up this year, break even. Right now, my crypto account on the year is down maybe 1 or 2% after going plus 100% plus last year. And so I'm just taking this year as a flat year, and I will look to hopefully be able to capitalize on the cycle shift when it takes place. But again, I'm not trying to nail the bottom, and I'm just going to miss the bottom knowingly. And I've made a couple attempts, as I've mentioned, of some long Bitcoin swings. Pretty much the last two trades I've taken, the only two trades I've taken in the last month, I stopped out break even on both of them. This 20,000 stop out that I had was a tiny red stop out. But again, yes, things are extreme. Yes, this is normally when I would be looking to buy, but this is a different market environment, and I'm just not messing around with this kind of capitulation, because I know that we can see $1,000 hourly candle flush down, and I don't want to be holding a bag while that's happening. So we have dropped to a lower low on the monthly time frame for Bitcoin. So we're continuing the downtrend on the monthly, weekly, daily time frame, and the next support level that we're looking at is down at 16.2 thousand. We're going back. So 16.2 down here from a long time ago, back in November of 2020. After 16.2 thousand, if that were to break, I'm looking down around the 14s. And there's a lot of other analysts out there on Twitter who are targeting the $14,000 range. And if we got to a certain point, I would start dollar cost averaging. But that certain point for me would be, if we were to see every time frame oversold. Give me monthly oversold, weekly oversold, daily oversold. Then I'll start scaling in dollar cost average style. But not in this current environment. If you're a bear, you're waiting for a 4-hour bounce from here, and you've been waiting for a while, but it's a lot of space for a 4-hour lower high to form. We got a little bit of a bounce right now, just a 15-minute lower high at the moment. We have an hourly downtrend to be watching. Hourly EMA 12 has been a great guide. So we can bounce all the way up to 17.3 and still just be in an hourly downtrend. So we can say something is shifting when we get over hourly EMA 12 resistance from here, but at this point in time, nothing changes as long as hourly EMA 12 is resistance. So it can always go lower than you think. And again, that's why I keep saying using a stop loss on every single trade, because if you don't, next thing you know, you're giving back half of last year's gains or more. And that's certainly not where we want to be. The NASDAQ is setting a daily lower high. So if stock bears are going to take back over, they need to confirm daily downtrends from here. Lower high set. In the broader market videos that I put out at the end of every day, last couple days we've been scouting this daily lower high. We've finally gotten it. And so now we're looking back at the recent low. And the CPI reaction is either going to have the bulls confirm a daily uptrend if it's a bullish reaction, or head to confirming a daily downtrend if it's a bearish reaction. So tomorrow pre-market is going to be certainly monumental short term for this price action, but Bitcoin can go lower. Bitcoin is dumping right now, obviously because of the news backdrop, but what if the NASDAQ hits new fresh fear lows and drops another 5 to 10% from here? What if the S&P 500 sees new fear lows? It's not close. We need to drop 8% from here, but it's possible. And if that were to happen, we can anticipate that it would be further downward pressure on Bitcoin. So I know some people are trying to play some bounces. It's the kind of thing where if I were going to play a bounce, I'd give myself one chance and I would establish a stop loss, and that would be it. And if I stop out and fail my one test, then I don't keep trying, because the last thing I want to do is take 3 red trades trying to play counter trend, and next thing I know, I'm down a week maker trying to play in the wrong direction. So I'm just letting the dust settle. I did the same thing in COVID. Shouldn't say that word. YouTube does not like it. I did the same thing where I called it turtle mode. I went all cash and everything. I stuck my arms and my head inside my shell, and I waited for the dust to settle. And I didn't hit the crypto bottom by a long shot. I was 400% late. And I didn't hit the broader stock market bottom by a long shot. But I was able to wait for the momentum shift and then trade with the bullish trend and certainly make the gains worthwhile. So as I keep saying, you don't need to nail the bottom to have significant gains when the shift takes place. You're not just going to turn around and wake up and the price is up 50%. So let it play out. We might have to see a capitulation move here. We saw a capitulation move earlier in the year when everything was flushing to massive extremes, and we set the bottom for multiple months from that capitulation move. And now we have potentially another capitulation event, and we have to see how it shakes out, because Bitcoin can go down to 14, it can go down to 12. I mean, for me, it can go down to 4. I'm open to any price. Whatever the computer says, these little numbers, I'm open to that being a possibility. And that's what keeps me safe from getting overconfident in whatever direction. So if I were going to be looking bullish, again, you can wait for a big hourly bounce and, oh, I missed it. You play the hourly high or low, and then you have a stop loss to be going off of. And then we know we have to confirm an hourly uptrend if any bounce is going to get any follow through. But again, there's just no sign of it right now. So we're in slow bleed mode right now. And watching to see if slow bleed on the hourly turns into high volume fast flush. Because again, it's these fast flushes that mark the temporary bottoms, not these slow grind down moves. Dominance chart, what in the world is that doing? Haven't been looking at it. So dominance chart, not really doing much. Everything's dropping together, very notably in crypto here. So Ethereum has been dropping really hard as well. Ethereum breaking the recent lows, but still above the fear lows. We would need another 30% drop or so for the fear lows to break. And if you remember, we actually only need 24%. But if you remember, there was a point in time many months ago where a possible scenario I laid out is, a lot of these altcoins are bouncing way more significantly than Bitcoin. If Bitcoin breaks 17.5 and lacks follow through, there's a possibility that Bitcoin breaks to a lower low and some altcoins don't. That's still on the table, but I'm certainly not going to be attempting to play hero and find these bottoms. So Ethereum, we'll see if we drop to fresh fear lows, but for now, it's still just a weekly downtrend of lower highs and lower lows. So monthly, weekly, daily downtrends are our guides. ETH BTC, what was the first red flag? Going back before any news, the first red flag was the ETH BTC pairing failing the daily higher high when the US dollar pairing hit that higher high. And then we dropped significantly, but the bulls did defend monthly, or I should say weekly support here. So now we got an equilibrium. So there's our double bottom. And I'm viewing this as low, lower high, higher low, pretty much a double bottom. And if ETH BTC bulls can confirm a 4-hour uptrend from here, once we top out on this initial bounce, then it will be a pretty successful hold of that support, and we'll be range bound. And of course, we'll be watching how that range breaks later in the year or to start 2023. So we are seeing Ethereum drop a lot faster than Bitcoin yesterday, but not dropping as fast today. And again, this chart is going up because Ethereum USD is dropping slower essentially. ETH BTC is not showing us that Ethereum is bullish. It's showing us that Ethereum is not as bearish as Bitcoin today. So Sol we know is in free fall. First, let's go to FTT. So FTT saw its capitulation bottom and then bounced 100%, but then just slowly faded back. We never confirmed an hourly uptrend. So now our eyes are back on 251. Does 251 break for fresh fear lows? Every fresh low that we see here, I'm viewing this almost as a crypto sentiment coin right now, where if we hit fresh fear lows, it's going to continue stoking the fears in the crypto space. So I'm watching just for, I'm obviously not trading FTT, but I'm just watching as a gauge. Can bulls do something here? Does it show that maybe there's hope for FTX, or does it keep dropping in despair? Sol USDT, we know is in free fall. And again, the hourly EMA 12 and the hourly downtrend is our clear guide. So we just dropped down to 1254. Can Sol drop down to 8? Why not? I have no downside targets. I have no idea where the bottom's going to be. If I were to give you a number, I would be making it up. And I'd be kidding myself. And there's a lot of people who do that all the time with their content. They're guessing. And sometimes they guess right. But I'm never going to, fake like I have any idea. I'm sitting here just like you all. I have no idea where we're going to bottom here. We can watch tick by tick here. We can watch our short-term trends for some signs. Can Sol form a 15-minute uptrend here? When's the last time we confirmed a 15-minute higher low and higher high? Not since back here. Even this big bounce, no 15-minute higher low and higher high. So we can say if we change the 15-minute trend to the bulls, okay, this is different for the first time today. But again, bears have absolute control. Considering I haven't tried any bounces, I may try a Sol bounce tomorrow. We have all these coins unlocking Oftentimes you will see known unlocking of shares in the stock market mark temporary bottoms because it gets priced in and then the shares unlock and then there's your bottom. So I'm going to be watching for that to be a possibility, but it would just be, a bottom fish attempt if I do take it. And ideally, I would want to see continued weakness into tomorrow, but I have no idea if I will. I just know that, I'm giving myself one attempt. It's just a question of whether I take that one attempt or not. So BNB held up better, at least initially, and it is still, it's dropping with everything, absolutely. But if you look at our fear lows, again, you can look at coins and say, what do we need to hit a new fear low? And for BNB, we need a 35% drop. And for Matic, we need a 62% drop. So these names are a lot less likely to hit fresh fear lows. It's still absolutely possible they do. If Bitcoin drops down towards 10,000, these coins are going to drop down towards their fear lows, but they have way more space to work with. So just keeping that in mind, we do still have names that are stronger and names that are, of course, weaker. Litecoin has been holding on surprisingly well. You can look at LTC, BTC, and it's holding daily EMA 12. So I haven't looked through all these altcoins, but I would imagine Litecoin is near the top of the list. Who would have thought that Litecoin would be one of the stronger names through a massive fear wave in crypto? But at the moment, it has been holding up better. You're not going to find many BTC pairings that are in uptrends. Even Matic, BTC, lost the daily high or low. BNB, BTC, still a daily uptrend as well. That all-time high run we've been on. So again, as far as, analyzing individual coins, everybody's doing the same thing, but just to a different varying degree. And the biggest differences that you're going to find on these coins are, again, longer term time frames. Who's holding the low of the last couple months? Who's holding the fear low? Who's breaking the fear low? Bitcoin broke the fear low. Any name that is breaking the fear low is a lead bear. Metaverse names have been lead bears for a very long time. They're continuing. Lower lows. Fresh fear low for Mana, and I'm assuming Sand is doing the same. Yep. So these are our lead bears, and they have been for a long time. The weekly EMA 12, it's a simple statement. If weekly EMA 12 is resistance, the bears have absolute control of whatever coin you're looking at. And so you can just go down the list. ADA, weekly EMA 12 resistance. Fresh fear lows. So ADA, Mana, Sand, they've all been at the bear list for the last 4 or 5 months. They've been at the top of the bear list, and that's continuing. Doge is going to be looking for a weekly high or low, but again, it's all bears at this point. Who's going to be buying a meme coin? You can potentially look to Elon Musk and Twitter as a potential catalyst for, again, a dangling carrot. So here we have Doge trying to set up an hourly falling wedge where bear breaks are starting to lack follow through. And again, just holding on better than Bitcoin the last 24 hours. So I would expect a weekly high or low is more likely than not. But keeping in mind, all these names, we're in the zoom out game right now. When we get any kind of bounce going, we zoom out and scout a 4-hour lower high. When we get the daily bounce going, we're going to scout daily lower highs. Bears are just waiting. Bears are just waiting on whatever time frame it's going to be for their next entry opportunity, and it's going to take a long time. Unless there's some kind of news catalyst, it's going to take a long time for bulls to regain any kind of trend structure and any kind of reversal that can follow through. Because we know Bitcoin can bounce 10%, and we're just looking for a daily lower high, and the bears will be ready and waiting. So it's going to take a while. And we have to keep that in mind as well. Crypto stocks, coin heading towards the all-time low, currently holding it by about 15%. These crypto stocks started dropping a lot harder sooner than altcoins and Bitcoin, which is interesting in hindsight. MARA had earnings, but it's given back all of its move. All these names were down 30% before any of this started happening with FTX. You can see coin was down, 30%, while Bitcoin was still up at the highs. All right. What do you all want to talk about? Again, there's no point in looking at individual coins. If you want to ask, who's stronger, bigger picture, it's Binance, it's Matic. How's Sushi holding up? Sushi BTC is going to be looking for a weekly higher low. US dollar pairing, still above its fear lows. So again, just distinguish longer term time frames as to who's stronger and who's weaker. The only long positions at this point are long-term no touch or some high risk, high reward bottom fishing plays with clear stop losses. Where does DOT stand? DOT has a recent low of 568 coming into play. 568 is the fear low. If we break 568, it joins lead bears. Any name hitting the lowest price of the year is on one list, lead bears. Any name that is holding the fear low but has broken the low of the last 2 months is on the middle list. Any name that is holding the low of the last couple months is on the stronger list. That's the easiest way to break down the cryptocurrency sector right now. Why do I think crypto stocks dropped early? I do not know. QQQ, well, QQQ had QQQ was a major factor here. So the weakness significantly on QQQ started on November 1st. And if we look at coin, when did we top out? We topped out a little bit sooner, but that was definitely a factor. Broader stock market weakness. I don't think there's any kind of inside info there, but clearly, bulls, having enjoyed a decent bounce, were very quick to rush to the exit. I mean, MARA, look at what it bounced. It bounced 60% in 2 weeks. So it's not surprising to take profit there. 60% bounce in 2 weeks in a bear market. Bulls are going to take that profit, especially heading into earnings. Crypto, as I talked about in the broader stock market video yesterday, there can be some contagion risk here. The investors of FTX, what I saw yesterday in the broader stock market, we dropped 2.5% in 90 minutes with no news. The news was FTX. That showed some fear of contagion, in my opinion. And we have to see, if miners start blowing up and going bankrupt and things like that, if it does have an impact elsewhere. But by contagion, I just mean, say BlackRock is an investor in FTX and they have a fat loss and they have to liquidate some other positions to cover a fat loss. That would be an example of contagion. But obviously what's going on right now, as far as, the bigger picture, it's bearish. It's bearish all markets. But as far as zoomed in crypto, it's going to take a long time to recover. We got to call it like it is, right? One of the major exchanges, at every turn, retail has massive risks being in this space. And we see that time and time again this year. And we didn't really have this kind of blow-ups in 2018. We didn't have, I think the bull run leading, it's exactly, these companies are showing us that they're doing the same things that individual retail does by FOMOing and getting euphoric. So they get euphoric in a bull market, they position themselves poorly, and then they blow up in a bear market. We saw it in cannabis. We saw big alcohol company Constellation Brands buy Canopy or buy a huge stake in Canopy. Up near the top, they are down massively. They had FOMO. A massive company had hundreds of millions of dollars, and they FOMO'd with that money. So what I'm learning more and more in markets is these people that on the surface seem a whole lot smarter aren't. They aren't, as far as markets are concerned, they aren't a whole lot smarter. They can explain Bitcoin a lot better and blockchain a lot better, but not smarter navigating markets. Certainly not compared to a whole bunch of traders. Is a meme coin necessarily a bad thing? It could work in its favor on Twitter. It's what it is. I don't have an opinion. Again, it's all a meme coin to me. Bitcoin's a meme coin. Amazon's a meme stock. It's all flashing numbers that can go 10 times higher than I think it can go and 10 times lower than I think it can go. And all I'm trying to do is take my piece of the pie when the numbers do certain things and I can position myself in low risk, high reward scenarios. That's the only reason I'm playing this game. That is it. To be able to extract capital from markets as income. So if Dogecoin's going to go to 100 million or zero, great. I'm all for it. Show me the charts, show me the trends, show me supports and resistance, and let's extract some capital. Do I consider and take a look at longs and shorts when I do my trading? No, I used to, but then, I used to look at, what was it? Not Binance, it was not BitConnect. What was the other exchange that used to show us the shorts? Not Bitstamp. Anyways, we used to have those long and shorts charts. They were too easy to be manipulated. You could have a massive short position that shows up on that chart, and then you could import You could import Bitcoin from a cold wallet, cover your shorts, and it doesn't show up on that chart. I don't have any napkins, but I think it's just going to stay in a puddle. Topo Chico. Real good. Ryan Lewis understands and respects where I stand personally for my risk and aggressiveness, but for those who are interested in more aggressive plays, can I put on my aggressive bull glasses more? Absolutely. So if I'm trying to play into this dump, I'm scaling in. I'm scaling in a few positions. I'm breaking it up into maybe 4 or 5 orders. And I'm looking to exit half of that on a 4-hour lower high, knowing that a 4-hour lower high will be the most likely scenario. And my stop is based on dollar risk. That's how I would look to be trading this space. Look at this 15 minutes. So if we get a setup where I can say, okay, I think a temporary bottom's in Bitcoin. All right, decent bounce. Next time we consolidate, I'm going to enter on a 15-minute high or low. I'm going to put my stop under the low with some wiggle room, and that's going to be an attempt at a bounce. And again, I'm not going to consistently try and fail. I'll give myself a try or two and then cut it off if I don't find a bottom with a bounce by then. But you got to be a good bounce trader, obviously. That has to be one of your specialties. Dogecoin has one of the bigger bounces right now. So Dogecoin is creating space for a 15-minute high or low, and it's got an hourly downtrending support with a potential falling wedge as bear breaks have started to lack follow-through. So I'd be looking at names like that. Okay, bears are getting exhausted on Dogecoin. Anyways, back to what I was saying with crypto, it's going to take a very long time to regain trust here. It might take years, probably will take years. Everybody that, you have to think about everybody that's been calling Bitcoin a Ponzi and has been talking about the risk of the space, they're proven right. All these headlines yep, they were right. And obviously they missed the big bull runs, but it's going to take, it's a reputation. Reputation is tarnished in a big way. If I were going to take a Bitcoin long at 16.5, where would I place my stop? Probably under 16 psychological. But your position size has to make that amount of risk make sense. QQQ, 15-minute lower high, quickly set. Amazon's been in free fall. Amazon's down 53% from all-time highs. I'm keeping an eye on weekly if we get oversold. Weekly oversold RSI in the history of Amazon has always been a good time to buy. Certainly with a longer-term mindset. Could Doge be used for Twitter Pay? I have no idea. I don't know anything about the inner workings of any cryptocurrency. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. Why is that a good thing? Because it's kept me completely focused on the charts and has allowed me to continue achieving my goal of extracting capital. If crypto saves the financial world, that's great. I hope it does, but I'm not holding my breath for it to. And I know that the inner workings and the fundamentals of these coins, I have no business. It's just a waste of time for me. My time is better spent on the charts because that's where I have proven that I can make money. I have not proven that I can make money doing anything with anything fundamental in crypto. And I would probably have to sink in a few hundred hours to start to have that be a possibility. So in terms of opportunity cost of my time, it's always the charts. BitMEX, thank you. Bitfinex, it wasn't BitMEX, it was Bitfinex. BlackRock does have a stake in FTX. There's a graphic going around showing all the different companies that had a stake in FTX. But again, at this point, once the dust settles from this, which will likely happen within the next, week or two at most, it's then back to the broader market. And again, the NASDAQ is flirting with fresh fear lows. So if we get fresh fear lows in the broader market, it's going to add continued downward pressure on crypto as well. So I'm gonna quickly put this behind me. I know a lot of people can't, and I'm definitely empathetic towards that. But I'm gonna quickly put these headlines behind me and start focusing back on CPI, FOMC, broader market. How's Meta on the news of job cuts worldwide? I don't know what your question is. A lot of companies are cutting jobs, freezing hiring. This is what happens when a stock fires a bunch of people. It goes up bigly, cutting costs. Do I still have my long-term no-touch positions? Yes, I'll ride those to zero. Long-term no-touch means no touch. Certainly not in fear. When I account for my net worth, which I do, I used to do it once every month. Now I do it maybe once every 3 or 4 months because it's not changing much at all this year. Whenever I do that, I account for my long-term no-touch crypto, literally a zero. I write a zero in. And so that way, anything else is a bonus. And worst case scenario is what I have been planning for and anticipating the entire time. It's almost as if it doesn't exist. I don't have a long-term no-touch position. In a decade, we'll address it and see where we stand. Current bounce, 15-minute. We need a 15-minute uptrend for the hourly bounce to have any kind of follow-through, and then it's just going to be another battle with hourly EMA 12. We now have to be watching Saylor. What if Saylor gets liquidated? That's a possibility. What if Bitcoin goes to 10,000? What then happens to MSTR? And what happens to his position? You have to keep in mind that bears are headhunting right now. Big money bears. This soul dump is not... What am I trying to say? This soul and FTT, this FTT dump is not Binance dumping, right? It's everybody else rushing in on the news and dumping. So there are a lot of people making a lot of money short right now, and they're going to be going for Michael Saylor's head, and they're going to be trying to liquidate him to get a climax flush on Bitcoin under 10,000 and to rack in more gains in this fearful environment. So that's now the next headline is, we need to be keeping an eye on liquidations in this space because we see what can happen with them. But, we got to be watching Saylor because he has put himself in a precarious situation. No touch policy is not a stupid idea whatsoever. If I take 5% of my profit and put it in a no touch position with decade-long mindset, I know old people that have had stock positions in certain companies for 30 or 40 years, and they have made millions and millions of dollars from it. And they have had long-term no-touch positions. They sat through the dot-com crash. They sat through 2008. My dad right now is retired and going around Europe traveling because he did not touch his stock portfolio during any of the drops of the last 40 years. There are different strategies. And for non-traders, that strategy worked well for a lot of people. What crypto do I have long-term no-touch? Bitcoin and Ethereum. Tiny amount of Litecoin, tiny amount of Link, not even worth mentioning. It's Bitcoin and Ethereum. At the peak, it was probably 8% of my net worth. Now it's probably 3% of my net worth. All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, remember, get outside. Get outside. It's the biggest. Whenever the markets are falling apart, I always like going out in the real world and just walking around town where nobody cares whatsoever about the markets. Everybody's going about their lives, or going out in the yard and none of the animals know that the markets are falling apart right now. And for me, watching nature just do what it does every single day and what it has done every single day for centuries, it's like, oh yeah, none of this stuff matters. Doesn't matter at all. That's my remedy for removing myself when I'm too emotionally attached to the flashing numbers. All right, appreciate you all. Don't forget to do good things out there. Thanks for the likes and the shares and tuning in. I put out a Twitter Spaces yesterday talking about patterns, equilibriums, head and shoulders. So if you go on our Twitter and scroll back to yesterday, you can tune into that. We also started doing a new uranium video, uranium sector in the stock market world. But other than that, we'll continue to check in. But again, I'm being extremely picky. I do not care about missing a bottom. I'm going to preserve my capital and not give it back trying to play counter trend. 4-hour lower highs for bears from here, then daily lower highs. If you want to be a real patient bear, CPI numbers tomorrow, pre-market.